To the cloud.
All right, good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for choosing to join us on this Halloween Friday. I'm sure there's lots of students running around in costumes and all those kind of things in your buildings today. So thank you so much for taking the time out to join us on this crazy day. My name is Neoma Hagans Flores. I'm the Associate Director. I'm at the Center for Next Generation Leadership. Dedicated to upgrading schools in Kentucky through multiple ways. Karen's going to talk a little bit about how we go about this work, but first I'm going to let everybody introduce themselves. Once again, I'm Neoma Hagans Flores. I'm the Associate Director for the Center. My main job, in addition to supporting all of the wonderful work that we're all doing out in the state, is to facilitate the dual credit program. So you guys will hear a lot from me. I work directly with students. I work directly with guidance counselors, as well as the faculty here at UK to make sure that this work happens. So we're really excited to have you here with us today. I see the pumpkin sweater going on, celebrating being festive. I love it. We've both got our cheetah on today. So thank you for joining us. Go ahead, Karen, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. So good morning. My name is Karen Terry. I'm a director here at the Nextgen Center. My primary focus is to run the network of schools, which we'll talk a little bit more about later on in this presentation. I have a background all in P-12 education. I'm newest to University of Kentucky. I've been a teacher and a graduation coach. And a director of curriculum and assessment, but most recently director of innovation in a large district outside of Atlanta. So I'm pretty new here, but it's a pleasure to be with you today. And I'm going to turn it over to Justin.
Hi, good morning all. Managing one more district who's trying to jump in. So I'll keep trying to work on that as well. So I'm Justin. I'm a professor here at the University of Kentucky. I've been here 13 years and I teach in the College of Ed, Education Leadership. I'm chair of the Department of Educational Leadership right now and have been part of the Center for Next Generation Leadership from the beginning. And we do a lot of work across Kentucky, which we'll explain a little bit more, but the opportunity came up a few years ago to take the lead on helping the University of Kentucky get into the world of dual credit. And so what you're about to see was us taking that moment to jump into this world. So I am the director of dual credit on campus, but Nay, as she said, is the one that you'll probably interact with the most if you decide to jump in with UK.
Hey, good morning. I'm Lou Young. I'm happy to be with you today. I'm the executive director of the center. I oversee all of our umbrella projects, including the Scholars Project. So Adam and Crystal, it's great to have you here, and others who will be viewing our webinar. Thank you for your time and interest, and we hope we will be able to meet your needs and that we will be able to support you through the application process. I am also former P-12 school teacher and leader. All of my years in the classroom were in the high school, except 1 year at junior high back in the day, aging myself a bit. I finished my career in school leadership as superintendent of Jessamine County for 9 years, and then a couple of years in Fayette County as chief academic officer. I'm finishing my 7th year at the University of Kentucky, really proud of this dual credit program, Next Generation Scholars, and we'll be supporting you on the business side of things and anything that I can do to help make this work with your superintendent, your district office, your principal. So thanks for being here, and we'll move on with the information session.
So I want to talk a little bit just to give you a background on who we are and how we got to this point of where we are now. Karen is going to talk a little bit about our core values as a team and what we like to accomplish in the state and what we've been working on for over a decade. But in general, our mission is to help upgrade schools in Kentucky through practices that guide deeper learning. We also are very interested in increasing college going throughout the state and also growing retention and enrollment in higher ed institutions across the state. We know that fewer kids in Kentucky are going to college. I would say this year, especially coming out of the pandemic, it's become increasingly clear that fewer students are going to higher ed institutions. And that's not because we don't have a wealth of talent of students. We know how talented our students are in this state, and we would love to see more of them going to college. We know that students, despite their abilities, are struggling in college transitions. We lose about half of our students who go to post-secondary institutions. Around half of those students don't come back a second year. So we're really looking on doing things that help students be able to not only get to higher ed institutions, but also to stay there and to graduate. We've seen a shifting narrative from college to careers. And as Justin will say, I want to emphasize that college is a pathway to careers. And so we really want to make sure that we are sending a message that college is a path to careers, careers are valued also, and making sure that we're valuing both sides of those equations. We're also faced with, here at the university, we saw that more and more students were coming through our doors with dual credit. Some students are coming in with associate's degrees, all of those things. So dual credit is expanding rapidly across the state. I know that both of you all have said that you're engaged with other partners, which is absolutely wonderful. But that's just a growing trend across more and more schools. But we also know in the ways that it's expanding rapidly, that it's not equally or equitably distributed from school to school, from district to district. In a lot of instances, students are given opportunity based upon their geography. And also it's contingent upon if a school has dual credit certified teachers in their building. So we built this model to address some of these issues and our whys of wanting more and more students to go to college. So in this, we designed an approach that honors both the way that we want to help upgrade schools and implement deeper learning practices in buildings, but also a way to bring dual credit to more and more students across the entire state. And Karen, can you talk a little bit about our network and our Nextgen learning principles that that guide us in this work?
I sure can. And Nay, while I'm doing that, would you mind sending my Zoom link to Chad Lumen? Would you mind sending that to him?
Yeah.
Thank you. Welcome, Mr. Thomas. So here at Nextgen, I want to, here, let me share. I'll share, Nay, while you do that. Here at Nextgen, we are committed to what we sort of lovingly call our Nextgen 9. Nextgen 9 really refer to our core driving principles that define who we are or what we believe should describe the school learning experience for students. The Nextgen 9 is divided into sort of two parts of the same whole. One half of the Nextgen 9 really has to do with the characteristics of what next generation learning should look like. The other half of the Nextgen 9 are really about structures that provide more equitable opportunity for students to have access to Nextgen learning. We believe these two things go together. So let me just walk through what these things are, and you'll see these things in the RFP document. Let me just sort of take a minute to kind of walk through each one of these things. First of all, we believe that next generation learning is characterized by having a really clear set of graduate competencies that students should know and be able to do by the time they leave you. In most places, this takes the form of a profile of a graduate or a portrait of a learner, and schools and districts articulate things like we want our learners to be effective communicators and collaborators and creative critical thinkers. And so one of the things that we believe is really important is that provides a foundation and a grounding for a set of values in a community, and then begins to drive the learning experience, right? If you want your kids to be effective collaborators, learning experiences need to line up so that kids can be effective collaborators. There needs to be, lots of teamwork opportunities and all those kinds of things. So we believe this is important, and we also help schools and districts define that. So if a profile of a graduate is not something that a school or district already has in place, Nextgen has capacity to help schools and districts lead those conversations in their communities. I was just doing that last night with another district in the southern part of the state. So first of all, we believe graduate competencies are an important part of a foundation of learning that looks different than traditional school. We believe learning should be deeper in nature, and what we mean by that is that learning should be inquiry driven. It should be personalized to the maximum extent. There should be projects, and there should be capstones, and there should be deep learning opportunities where students can apply their learning in their local community and even more broadly into the global community. And that this is an important part of a next generation learning experience. Next, we think that students should have high levels of agency in their learning. So kids should be able to make substantive decisions about their learning, not just because it's, sort of a good idea, but because when they leave us, kids are going to have to drive their own learning to be lifelong learners. And so we've got to build up that set of muscles for kids to be able to make good decisions about their learning. And they can practice that while they're with us in substantive and important ways so that they can do that when they leave us. Next, we think that assessment should be broadly defined. So we look not just at standardized test scores. We are really looking and help schools build out the capacity to do things like measuring their profile of a graduate skills. So for example, we'll stick with collaboration as our example. If you care about your kids being good collaborators, at some point you've got to be able to answer the question, how do we know we're doing that? How do we know our kids are getting better at that? How do we know we're fostering that set of skills? So that would lead to a broader definition of assessment beyond just standardized tests. And you might be looking at things like student-led conferences and defenses of learning and exhibitions. And last, on this side, we think that a professional teaching culture is really essential. We think teachers should have agency over their own learning. We think teachers should be learning from one another. And so that's the sort of the front half of the Nextgen 9. The other side of the Nextgen 9 is we believe in the interest of equity that learning should be culturally relevant. Kids should see themselves in their learning. They should see the application. They should understand how it fits in their local community. And like Lou, I'm a high school person from way back, and I know that sometimes relevance can be tough, and sometimes we really struggle with that relevant part of the curriculum, even if we sort of try mightily. So culturally relevant is a really important part of kids even wanting to dig into their school. Next, we think that we should have high levels of access and inclusivity. So one of the things you'll hear from us about dual credit is we think kids should have access to dual credit, even non-traditional kids that you may not historically think of as, the kinds of kids who would be interested in dual credit. We believe that not only dual credit, but good challenging learning experiences should be widely available to every student in school. So we have dropped a lot of the traditional barriers to dual credit. And we also would support dropping lots of traditional barriers to high levels of challenging learning experiences for all kids in the course of the learning experience. We think that discipline should be positive and restorative in nature to the maximum extent possible. And we've got some really interesting things going on in our network schools about this as well. And then lastly, we think a robust system of advising and mentoring is really important for lifelong success for kids. We've probably all benefited from a mentor coaching throughout the course of our life. And so we think this is an important support to help kids meet high levels of expectation. So let me just sort of pause there and open up. Are there any questions on the Nextgen 9? And I'm pausing here in particular because these questions come up in the RFP. So we want to make sure that everyone understands what these things are so you can kind of assess sort of where you think you are So I just want to be clear if anyone's not quite sure what we mean by any one of these things.
I think I'm very clear on all of them. I wanted to ask the question about the mentoring aspect, and is there a consideration for any internships as a part of that?
Oh, sure. Excellent question. So we absolutely believe that internships are really great learning experiences for kids. We have some schools in our network who are figuring that out and making that happen for kids in their school. We don't directly facilitate any of those internships ourselves, but what we can do is connect schools up with other schools who have figured it out. And that's really the power of the network here. So super great question on internships. It's a great learning opportunity. I'm glad you jumped right on that. And let me, I guess to this point, I guess I should say, so these are our Nextgen 9. This is what we believe are important, but we have no expectation that a school coming in would be awesome at all of these things. These are just driving principles for us. And schools enter into the network saying they're willing to commit to moving toward these things, and we commit to partnering with schools to help them do that. So there's no expectation. As you're filling out the RFP, and you might be thinking like, we're not so, far down the line on this particular element or that. All we're really looking for is a commitment to that thing, not necessarily high levels of execution at the moment. So I just keep that in mind as you're going through completing the RFP. We can help. We can help. All right. So let me move on here, and I'm going to move sort of quickly through these next few. When we talk about our network, Nay mentioned there were two sides of the coin. There's the network, and then there's the dual credit. The network is already comprised of 14 schools, and they're listed here across the state. So you can see who they are. We've got some independents in there. We've got some northern Kentucky, some southern Kentucky, some east and some west. We've got some schools that have been with us for several years, but we've done this RFP process for 3 years now. And so these are the schools who have applied and who have been selected to be part of this. And so one of the great advantages of being in a network like this is you have access to this set of schools who are all similarly committed. They're all offering UK dual credit classes, and they're all moving toward the Nextgen 9 in some kind of way. And so we've got some schools that have been truly innovative for a long time and were startups to be innovative, and we've got some schools that are newer to the game and are committed to shifting their school. So we've got a whole range of schools in here. And I think to the point is, like, we believe these things are good for all kids everywhere. So that's why we see a broad range of schools in this list. All right. Here's a sort of just a really quick look at who's in the network. We have 14 school partners. We have 6 participating colleges within UK. We've got 14 UK courses that are being offered now. We've got 15 faculty members who are teaching those courses. We've got 28 collaborating teachers, and we'll explain that model in just a few minutes. And then current enrollment is 366 students. And then just a quick look at sort of who those schools are again. So that's just a really quick snapshot of who's in the network and a broad overview of the partnerships that we're building here through this dual credit effort. So I'm going to quickly go through this, and you'll have access to this set of slides so you can dig more deeply into this, but there are lots of benefits to doing this. First of all, on the network side, you're going to get support for your desired transformation work. One of the things that Nextgen has done for a long time is we've facilitated the Nextgen Leadership Academy. Participating in this dual credit network gets you free seats in the Nextgen Leadership Academy, which has been an important part of transformation work for schools for 11 years now. We're in our 11th cohort of Nextgen Leadership Academy. We have a summer conference you get seats in for professional development. There's tons of professional development for teachers on your full staff, but also for dual credit teachers. You're going to get access to leadership coaching. You get access to the network of other innovative high schools who are similarly committed. And then, of course, we have UK swag that we like to give out to folks. And then, of course, your students get access to dual credit, and they get access to UK academic supports, including libraries, but also Nay is probably our number one academic support for students right off the bat. Of course, they're going to save a ton of money towards college because the tuition is really low. On-site teacher support, academic advisement, connection with UK professors. I mean, you know, there are tons of benefits to doing this. In exchange, here's what we ask for by way of commitment. We ask that you commit to moving toward the Nextgen 9 in your learning experiences, not just with the dual credit courses, but generally in your school. And we, of course, can help you through that professional development. We ask that you assign strong collaborating teachers, and we're going to explain that model in just a second. We ask that kids have at least access to computers, which most places do at this point, mid-pandemic or post-pandemic or post-mid-pandemic, wherever we are. Most kids have access to computers now, and promoting a college-going culture for all students. And then last, we ask that the district or the school will pay the tuition for free and reduced on students, because we don't want money to be a barrier for these kids to have access. All right, so going to turn it back over to Nay for, I think, this next part.
Okay, I think Justin wanted to explain a little bit about the courses and how we go through them. But as Karen has already said, we have the network side that really helps schools and helps their development towards the Nextgen 9. On the dual credit side, or on this scholar side, we are offering dual credit. At the same time, we're offering advising and supports for students. So we hold events for students to attend. We supply an orientation. Students can receive one-on-one advising. We network them with other students throughout the state that are also taking dual credit throughout this program, as well as we network the collaborating teachers with the faculty at UK, but with each other. So this is a program not about a student taking a class. It goes a little bit beyond that, more towards an early college model where we're really creating a network of scholars and of students dedicated, and of teachers, and of university faculty and administrators, all dedicated towards college going. In that model, and we can go on to the next slide, Karen. In that model, we offer, as all schools in the state offer, a scholarship for students. So every school that's offering dual credit in the state of Kentucky, that is set at the $72 per credit hour rate. The same thing happens at the University of Kentucky. So overall, for a UK course, this is a savings of $440 and 2 quarters for each and every single course that we take. For our student selection, we have very few selection criteria for our students, and that is because we want to ensure that students know that college is not just for a particular group of students, that it can be accessible for all students. So for our program, students must be juniors or seniors, okay? They must have a 2.5 GPA. We do not look at the ACT, with the exception of one course, and we do have alternative ways that students can qualify for that if they don't meet that ACT minimum. The reason why our requirements are set as such is because, once again, we are focusing on equity for students and all students having those opportunities. All the courses that we offer are a part of the UK core. So there will be not a single course in our model that does not fall into the general ed curriculum of UK. Students can take a maximum of 10 of those courses. Also in this, when we were designing this program, there were a lot of questions about how transferable some of these credits students were taking at other institutions. So we wanted to make sure that all of the courses that we are offering are not just a part of the general ed requirements, but that they're also highly transferable. So prior to a course being into our model, it goes through a series of evaluations looking at, first of all, is it in the core? Is it allowable online for UK? And then is it also transferable to at least 4 other larger or state institutions, okay? So in those, we're looking at Murray, we're looking at EKU, we're looking at K-State, we're looking at Moorhead and Eastern, to see if those things are transferring across from program to program. And then also, in addition to that, all of our courses follow the dual credit agreement that has been set forth by the state. Okay, next slide.
Nay, transfer a chart that folks could look at. Is that available somewhere?
It's on the website right now under courses. And I think we show a picture of the transfer chart that we do each semester here in the next few slides.
Mhm.
Okay, everything sounds great so far, right, team? We're all set. But let me unpack the hard stuff. So while UK has come into this space of offering dual credit, and you can see that we're very passionate about the relationship that we have with our partner high schools. We want to support them in a network. We want to offer them professional development and really truly be partners with our high schools. And that's a pretty real thing. I mean, over the last couple of weeks, we've been out traveling, particularly Nay's been out traveling and spending time listening, talking with kids, talking with teachers, talking with principals. So there's a very big commitment on that part. We've opened the door. There's a lot of things to love about this model. Okay, so if I'm a school administrator, I'm thinking, yeah, what's the catch? Well, here's the hard part. We also take a different approach to how to implement the courses. And so the courses, we believe it and we love it, and we'll show you the results in just a minute, but logistically, this can be a challenge. Here's how it works. For each class, we assign a lead UK instructor on the UK side. Okay, so this is a university employed person, a lecturer, clinical faculty member, something like that, who's going to lead the course. That course, in a given, this is History 109, for instance, will then be implemented at multiple high school sites around the state simultaneously. Right, so just in the room with us today is Harlan and Walton Verona and Danville. So you can picture yourself as 3 of those boxes where there's a collaborating teacher leading the class in your school building. All right, so you're assigning a social studies teacher, we're assigning a history professor, and between those two, we implement the History 109 course. There is absolutely no reduction in UK's rigor in any course that we offer. This is authentic UK, what we would otherwise do here on campus in Lexington. So that collaboration, I think, is what has led to really strong results. We'll share in just a minute. But what this creates, and so we use Canvas and we use Zoom, right? So when this is happening simultaneously in a Zoom room just like this, but imagine in this room that there are 75 different little video screens running. 5 of those might be high school teachers, and 1 of those is a UK professor, and simultaneously 3 times a week we're going to get together. The simultaneously part for the counselor listening in the room, and for Crystal, right? Like, you guys help with scheduling a lot. Scheduling is our biggest barrier. And we hear that a lot. So, you know, there's a lot of things to love about UK's model. The logistics side is the hardest side. When we get all these logistics right, wow, we can get great results. And so, you know, like that, but it puts quite a bit of extra pressure on the adults to figure out a lot of logistics. So that is the core of our model, is this relationship between a UK faculty member and a high school teacher. That economically works for us at $72 a credit. Remember, like, what we're charging in this equation, right? So we can't just put 1 UK faculty member and only 20 or 30 kids in a room together. Economically, that's not a viable model for us at UK. So this is also a way for us to make the economics of dual credit work over the longer term. So that is both spectacular, because we're going to show you great results, but also challenging, right? Everyone's sort of internalizing this is a bit of the hard part.
Yeah, and one thing I want to add to that too, Justin, and then I think we do need to open it up for some questions because there might be questions around this. But what it also does is these collaborating, there is a 18-hour credit limit and a dual credit certification process in the state, correct? So what that does is it limits a lot of schools that do not have dual credit certified teachers in their building from engaging in dual credit. What this model does is, because there is a UK faculty member who is the lead faculty member on the course, is it opens it up to any teacher in your building who teaches in that area can teach on these courses, regardless of their dual credit certification. Now, we would ask that it wouldn't be a teacher who is in their first year of teaching and who is just kind of learning how to do this thing in their classroom. But if a teacher comes and they are certified in that content area, so it would have to be a social studies, a history teacher in the case of History 109, but that person doesn't have to be dual credit certified.
Yeah, it opens up your staff for sure, right? But hard logistics, but you can see, like, if we can manage the hard logistics, boy, this really opens up a new way to do dual credit. More of your staff members can participate. You can actually take the dual credit model further. So some of our partners, like a Frankfurt Independent, a STEAM Academy here in Lexington, because you can deploy more of your staff, you can deploy more dual credit into your building. Scheduling, hard, right? Like, I don't want to minimize how hard that can be, but if you're willing to work through those hard scheduling logistics, then the option is there to make the junior and senior year of high school feel much more like an early college. So the partners that are sort of running with this model and deploying a lot of these courses, they are beginning to think about the junior and senior year as an early college that has quite a bit of college mixed in with some of the components of high school that we still want to have. But there's a lot to like in this model. One of the things that's great about this model is, because both partners are connected to the course, the university knows what's going on in this course and the high school knows what's going on in this course. So when a kid starts to struggle, both partners know, right? And we're in that period right now. The withdrawal date for UK courses for this semester is next week. And so high schools and UK are actively working together right now to figure out, like, okay, which students are struggling, because what we don't want is to put E's on these students' transcripts while they're still in high school, right? And so because we're being a lot more intentional, we think it's a better approach for students to not see as much failure. And when we show you the results in just a minute, then you can see how that's been unfolding. Okay, you want to open to questions? There's a list of courses. We can leave that, let them process the list of courses a little bit. And we do have another course or two coming into the model, and some courses we don't offer every semester. And so, like, we can unpack the courses more, but what questions at this point, because the logistics are the hard part. Okay, you'll have more questions. Go ahead, Crystal. I can see it.
Okay. So how long do the courses usually last? Like if scheduling in the day, like how long does a lecture normally last?
I think the next slide is the schedule.
Oh,
so
okay.
Maybe pop to the next one. Okay, so this is the schedule we're running this year. We try to listen to the high school partners as much as we can. And so this is not the schedule for all time. We have to manage a lot of the logistics on our side are hard too. And so as we build out the schedule in a given year, we try to do a lot of listening in advance of that, and then conclude, here's where most of our partners want to be. So what we've heard from our other high school partners over the year is they would prefer more of this in the morning than the afternoon. So you can see that this is primarily morning courses. We do have central time zone partners in the model, so we don't start courses at 8 a.m. Eastern. We start courses at 9 a.m. Eastern, which is 8 a.m. for Central, so that Central can participate. Courses live within an hour because what we heard from most of our high school partners are still running 6 or 7 period days. And so living within an hour is still the preferred approach for most of our partners. And then we also in the past have run Tuesday, Thursday courses in addition to running Monday, Wednesday, Friday courses. But we've heard from our partners that Tuesday, Thursday was not working as well. But we've also, now that we've tried this year, I mean, it's possible we might put Tuesday, Thursday back in the future. It's possible we might add an afternoon course or two in the future. So this is constantly in flux, but it gives you a sense of what we were running this year after having listened to as many partners. So you can see that you're making choices. Guidance counselors, principals, the superintendent in the room too, like, so you're making choices about which classes fit the most for our team and where do we want those in a day. You'll see there's repeated classes. So like CIS 110 is the equivalent of English 101. Most schools want English 101, right? And so there's different time blocks when you can make that choice, but many fewer schools want Design 100, which is like an introduction to design thinking. So we only offer that in one block. So, but this is the result of a lot of negotiation because it's in here where a lot of the difficult parts of this model lie.
Yeah, so if you go through the process with us and you decide, yeah, this is what I want to do. In February, when we have our meeting and we get together, typically what happens is that based upon some feedback from the last schedule, we'll propose a schedule to the network. And the network will take a look at it, provide us feedback on that schedule. We'll take that feedback, make any changes, propose those feedback to the faculty, get a final approval of the schedule after that, and then it'll be sent to you guys to make choices on the courses that you want to offer in your schools, and all those things. As of right now, we do not have a heavy minimum or maximum on classes that you offer a semester. What we do ask each of our partners is that you offer at least one course each semester. Schools come in at different places, however. Some schools come in their first semester, they say, we're going to offer every single class that you have there. Some schools come in and say, okay, we're going to try it. We're going to dip our toe in with one class. We're going to try one class in the fall and one class in the spring. And whichever approach works most for you and your building. Okay, so we are not here to dictate which courses you take or what approach you take in utilizing what's laid out before you. But what we do ask is that you try to offer one per semester, and that you please pay close attention to making sure that you are aware and that your collaborating teachers are aware that the times that are on this schedule are the times in which the classes are meeting. And that also you're providing a collaborating teacher who is willing to collaborate and who is also certified in that content area. Okay, so those are not dual credit certified, but just certified to teach or has experience teaching in the area of the course that they're going to be collaborating on.
Okay, so that just happened to hit our next slide perfectly. So thanks, Crystal. But what other questions? Right, so here's the money shot in that when we manage all these logistics well, kids in your community can have success on authentic, real University of Kentucky courses taught by UK professors at really high rates. Right, so it's not like there's no E's or W's in there or D's, right? There are a few, like this is not a perfect model. There will be some students who struggle. These are real UK courses. And so, you know, for some kids that is a bit of a struggle, but you can see that the D's and the E's and the W's representing those kids that we withdrew because it wasn't going to end well. Pretty minimal. Just more data from spring of this past year, just different but similar distribution. A few more C's this spring.
And I will say that we deployed this model into the pandemic. So I just want to make you guys aware, students are doing this way in the middle of a pandemic in these courses. So I will say over and over again, every time we talk to the faculty, how surprised and delighted and proud they are of the students in this model and of how they are doing. You'll hear them say often, well, they do better than the students on campus. And we think that's
we try not to speak too loud about that. Like, don't go run and tell the university president or something like that.
But they brag quite often on the students that are in these courses. So I do want you all to know that the faculty are really happy so far about this model and how it works. And with working with collaborating teachers, they're really, really excited about working with and learning from and learning with the teachers that are in our high school buildings.
Any questions on any of that data before we move on? I think we're coming to the end of this portion, and we can open up for more questions and discussions if we need to.
Yeah, I think the only question. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go.
No, the only question I have is we're a small independent school, so we have. I'm just thinking you went history and you went close and near and dear to my heart. We only have 3 history teachers. And what I would like in my mind's eye just right now is to encourage all of our juniors that are going to U.S. history into this course. What would you like? How would you have you all seen schedules where the kids that either can't do it or are unable to do it, or they withdraw? What do we do with those students?
You keep a section open for those students. So STEAM Academy is a high school that we got to build from scratch here in Lexington. And so, in getting to build it from scratch, we built it as an early college from the beginning with that expectation that, like, I want all kids just to do dual credit history, right? Like, why not? They got to do history anyway. We'll just make this core to the model. And what we found is for 3/4 of the kids, that works. And so, for a much higher percentage than we are currently contemplating as college going, this can work. So we do encourage our partners to think pretty big about who can participate in this. And so with us encouraging those partners to think big, you're still seeing our results. So, like, open the door and we think we can get them to success. That said, the reality that we're all facing is not every single kid is ready for this in their junior year of high school. And so even our partners who implement the early college sort of all-in model still keep a section of non-college based history on the books for students that need history, but are not ready for UK's history.
Yeah, I just find it's interesting how we're going to kind of navigate that, just because we're also asking that teacher, because that will be the same teacher that will also be doing the teaching the 2 days, the Thursday and Tuesday and Thursday, correct? I mean,
correct. It is that kind of stuff is complicated, and so we would encourage you to talk with the network partners. One of the things that we do is we just gather people together on a pretty regular basis, and they just talk through this stuff. The reality of trying to smash together 2 institutions like this, and it's not really just 2 institutions because each high school runs differently, as you all well know. And so we are going to run up against a lot of those challenges. So we're constantly trying to work those through. And there's no perfect answers. It's just about a journey to try to find the best answers right now.
Yeah, it's a great case for the network. There are this many schools in the network, and there are this many approaches to that question that you just asked. Super creative options and solutions in terms of schedules and in terms of the way they're using personnel. And so, Justin's exactly right. I mean, one of the things that we do is get people together and say, what are your best ideas for how to tackle this thing? And there will be at least this many answers. So, and you can actually, we encourage you, if you happen to know anybody at this place or you just want to reach out, I mean, and ask them some questions about their experience or, you know, anything like that, you know, reach out to these schools. You know, can start now. Or once you get into the network, figuring out some of those things and working with some of the network partners too. But
And
yeah,
notice,
it's a challenge. Sure. Go ahead.
well, notice who's in the room and who's on this list. There's quite a few independents. We've got independents in the room with us today. And so we've seen quite a bit of success deploying with independent school district partners. That's not to say we don't have really big countywide schools. We do, like Ryle High School in Boone County is a mega school. But a lot of the smaller independents have been the ones that are a little bit more nimble and can sort of figure this out a little bit more quickly.
So let me sort of, let's bring this on home a little bit here and talk about sort of next steps. So here's where we are. So this process has a couple of steps. The first part is responding to the RFP document itself. The RFP document probably looks a little bigger and scarier than what it really actually is. What we're really asking for is a response from partners, potential partners, to really look at their current state of next-gen learning structures and equity of opportunity, plus the poverty indicator. So what's the percentage of students who are free and reduced lunch? We're asking for schools to complete the RFP and do a little bit of a self-assessment and just sort of say where you are. There are no right answers on where any school is, and they're about where they are with regard to the Next-Gen 9 or anything. It's really, the idea is just for us to get a sense of who the school is. The first part of the process is to complete the RFP document itself. Then the next thing, after those are completed and turned in, and we'll talk about dates in just a second, the next part is we come to visit you, either in person or virtually, just to get to know a little bit more about you. When we talk about a partnership, we really mean it. So we want to be super clear about who our potential partners are that are coming into the network. And we also want you to be super clear about who we are and have a better understanding of what we can do to help and what sort of our strengths are and some supports that we can provide. So a site visit is really just intended to get to know each other a little bit better. Sometimes things don't convey in a written document, so we'd really just like to come and meet people. We'd love to talk with kids. We'd love to visit some of your best classrooms and talk to the team of people who are going to lead the dual credit effort at your school. So that would be a counselor, principal, a couple of teachers, assistant principal, whoever those people are. Sometimes chief academic officers of the district. I mean, just varies from district to district. So two parts. There's a written document that gets submitted, and then the second part is a site visit. I just want to reiterate again that the bar here is that we're looking for serious, willing partners for this thing, not experts at next generation learning. That's not the expectation. We're looking for serious partners who are willing to transform their schools and offer dual credit in a widely equitable way to students and just to serve as good partners, okay? So I just want to be clear about that. So here are important dates. If you intend to apply, we'd love to hear that by November the 5th. There's an Airtable link. There's just a link to a quick, like 2 questions of where we're serious. We intend to apply. All that really does for us is let us know you are waiting in, and if you have any questions, we're going to reach out about scheduling up a time for individual questions with you, and just let us sort of follow up and know what the level of interest is across the state. The actual RFP document is due on November 23rd, and then we'll turn it around pretty quickly to set up site visits to selected schools, and then we'll have a final selected notice on February the 4th. And the reason for that big chunk of time in there is we get site visits in by December 3rd. We have to actually send this forward to a subsection of our faculty senate for approval. But I just want to sort of also offer, as you're completing the RFP document, if you get stuck on anything or have any questions, please reach out. It is not intended to be a gotcha document or anything like that. It's really intended to be a way for us to get to know you better. So when you complete the intent to apply, and in there are some places for you to say when you're interested in talking with us, and then we'll work through whatever you get stuck on in terms of the RFP document or the site visit or whatever. So, you know, we are glad that you're here. We appreciate your interest. We're excited that you're excited. And we really want to be good partners in this thing with you. And so far, we found that to be the case both on the network side and the dual credit side, and lots of good things to celebrate. But mostly kids are getting good access to UK courses, and schools are getting access to other high schools who are working to advance their learning goals. So I'm going to stop share and open up again for any questions about the process at this point, the RFP process or site visits or any of that. Don't be intimidated by the RFP document.
Hit us with anything else then. Just fire away, no problem.
Well, I will jump in with was there someone else?
Go ahead.
All right, I will jump in with commitment from faculty. So what are we looking at as far as what you're looking at for a commitment from our faculty, and how many numbers, et cetera?
It's a good question. So for commitment to faculty, what we're really looking for is what is the degree of willingness of faculty in your school to embrace next generation learning? Sometimes that looks like we had a faculty meeting. We talked to everybody about this. There was general enthusiasm in the room. We think our team is ready to start moving towards student-centered learning, or continue our existing move towards student-centered learning. Sometimes it could be a letter, like our faculty is excited about this and we're willing to sign on, both to be good partners, to be good dual credit collaborating teachers, but also and the rest of the faculty as well. There's no real actual like hard and fast number there. It's just we're looking for a sense of this school is willing and ready to move in a student-centered direction. That's a good question. I think, and if the answer is, you know, we're pretty early on and we're not quite sure, like there's a good place to start, you know, like thinking about how to have those conversations with teachers. High schools are, you know, are unique places, and they're complex, and people come from all different kinds of angles and perspectives. That's it's a tough question, but there's no real hard bar. I think Adam, were you jumping in?
Yeah, I just want to say thanks for doing this.
Sure.
Schedule wise, it is not going to work for us now, but we are in the beginning, middle, depends on where you look at it, phases of schedule adjustments. So this will be something that we could keep in the back of our mind when we have those committee meetings about schedule adjustment, and just some potential doors that this, you know, if we went on a basic, you know, 6 bell hour class, could open up for some kids. I do love the idea that you guys have sciences, because in all of our dual credit programs that we're using now, science kind of seems to be that ghost that we can't get our hands on to teach at a high school.
Sure, no worries, Adam. I mean, right, like this is not the right fit for everyone, and that's a really smart choice on your part to say, like, this is not the right fit for our schedule. There are many, as you know, in Northern Kentucky, many different dual credit relationships that you can have. And so where we want to be at UK is we want to help high schools slowly transition to more of an early college model. Right. And you can feel that in your own scheduling, right? And so as you are thinking that through on your own side, if it makes sense, at some point you're like, gosh, what we should really do is just think about it early. Okay, you know who's interested in that is UK. So then come on back and let's have that chat.
I took some notes, and I appreciate you guys' time, and we'll see where that falls into our schedule discussion.
Righto.
Thank you.
Yep.
Hey, so how much would you all be able to be involved in our next year's scheduling conversations? Would we be able to, like, if we were selected, I guess it's selected is what is that what I'm waiting for? And that's February. It's kind of late on our timeline. Like we are starting to have those conversations and identify areas. Is there something that I could use, like a resource I could use from you all as we start to kind of venture down this path with you all? Or is it something that one of you all could kind of talk with my counselors about?
Well, that's part of the point of the site visit is like, let's talk it through. And, the counselors probably are having some questions right now. And so, this is, even at that stage, you don't have to commit to this, right? You can go down this road and then say, maybe just like Adam just did, we're not quite ready yet. That's okay. The other thing that is completely okay is we're not going to figure this all the way out in year one. We're going to just try one course. We're going to peel off a small group of kids and we're going to try this one thing. And we're going to learn, they're going to learn, everybody's going to learn together in that first year. And then we'll see what that next year looks like in next year. That most schools that join up do it that way, which is dip our toe in, feel it out, see how this feels, fully understand how these UK courses are working. The next year, then a couple more. Next year, a couple more, right? So then a sort of slow expansion. That's what most schools do. There are a few schools that like they went in like, nope, we get it. Early college, that's where this is going. We want to be one of those. And if that's where you want to be, then absolutely, we do need to really unpack that, show you some examples, and let you sort of wrestle with a lot of the questions that live in that space of early college, which is, what do you do with the rest of the time? Because the college classes don't run in the same way that high schools run, right? So what we see early colleges do is they partner early college with something else like internships, right? So like if I'm running college courses Monday, Wednesday, Friday, great. Tuesday, Thursday is a great day for those kids to be on internship so that I don't feel like I have to supervise them in the building. So, right, but you can see like that's a pretty big change. And so most schools don't go for that right away. Most take let's dip our toe in and feel it out.
Yeah, but to give an even shorter answer to that, I'm going to say that we're as willing to be as involved in that conversation as you would like us to be. So you won't see from us that we will push you to do a thing, but if you want to have those conversations and you want to move forward in that direction, we're more than happy to go down that stream with you, and to help you figure out how to do that in your existing building with all the complexities that come along with that.
I know we're past time, and I wanted to ask one more question about the potential, and certainly not asking any commitment from the UK people online now, but let's say that we do have a number of students who sign on as juniors and seniors, and then is there any pathway that recognizes, provided they do good coursework, that they're going to be admitted to as a University of Kentucky student? Don't be smiling. You knew that question. You've answered that question before, I'm certain.
Well, it's a question
We've
that
had internal discussions. We've had internal discussions, Elmer, to that question, because there is, I love that your brain went there. But ultimately, what that kid is showing us is that they're ready for UK, right? Like that is embedded in what's happening. And so internally, we are discussing at what point does a kid essentially have earned their admission? And so it is a conversation, nothing I can publicly commit to right now. But yes, we are, but you can see like this is a real relationship on our side too. We want, particularly because we want you to open the door to the kids in the communities that have not traditionally thought about college. And let's see if they earn their way in to UK. Like we think they can. We wouldn't be here if we didn't think this is a real new pathway that connects high schools and colleges in a new way that's worth doing. And so, and that we believe deeply that 80–90% of the kids in your building can do college, including UK. And so we're here, we're opening this door because we believe in those things. Okay, but logistically hard. So, right, that's the go have conversations. And Crispo, for you, happy to talk with anyone else there at Harlan that wants to unpack this and sort of talk this through, whether this is the right moment. You know, as the reality is, we are still in a pandemic, right? So we launched this like the worst possible timing. And so everything's hard on schools right now. We get that. And so it could be that, just like Adam earlier, this is not the right time. You guys have those conversations and then keep us in the loop.
And if you ever need to have a follow-up conversation, please just email us. We're happy to have follow-up conversations with you all individually, or if you pull a team together and you have questions as you're going through the RFP, or if you have questions before you decide to do an RFP, or any of those things. So just please reach out to us.
Okay, bye all. Thanks for joining this morning.
Thank you all.
Yep.